welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Noah Strackline, joined every Friday, and I am so excited to say this on a Friday, back-to-back Fridays, that we get to talk about a game by my main man, Derek Bell. The Jacksonville Jaguars, preseason game number 2, lots of Kenny Pickett, lots of Jalen Warren, maybe a little bit of Miles Jack revenge game. We're going to get into it all. But first, Derek, it's a beautiful day here in the Burgh. It's a beautiful day to be back from training camp. Let me tell you, I did so much today. Went to Pitt in the morning, went and did a million errands that I've been waiting 4 weeks to do. And I slept until 8 o'clock, which was probably the best start I've had in 4 weeks, probably.
I was to say you've been up when I've been going to sleep, so I know you've been grinding. I'm good, man. I'm ready for this game tomorrow. I'm ready for this game tomorrow. It's been a fun week just because, for me personally, it's been nice to get back in that rhythm of having tape to watch through the week. So it's it breaks up my days a little bit, getting to kind of grind through some stuff with that. So super excited, man.
Yeah, me too. I am very excited. This one feels like a real game. Last one felt like a real game, but you knew it was a preseason game. This one kind of feels like the Steelers kind of know what they got. They're going to see what they really got type of atmosphere, which is exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of Jalen Samuels, or not Jalen Samuels, excuse me. Nate Borgie had me talking about Jalen Samuels because he's wearing number 38. A lot of Jalen Warren, probably a little bit of Anthony Miller. I'd say a little bit of Benny Snell Jr. to see what he's got. And then a lot of Kenny Pickett. We'll start, overview of everything. What you looking for heading into tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the quarterback rotation is interesting. I kind of felt like that was the direction that we were trending in just because Kenny was getting a little more run in practice. Kenny will have the opportunity. I think I follow a couple really good Jags follows. It sounds like some of their starters may play into the early portion of the second quarter. So nice. There's a potential there that maybe Kenny could see a series against their starters. Their starters were pretty impressive last week too. A lot of them played against Cleveland. Deshaun Watson came out. He kind of stunk up the place a little bit. But they
$230 million Deshaun Watson just stinking up the place.
We'll get the chance to see that kind of matchup hopefully. So
yeah, I think that was Mike Tomlin's plan, was to let Kenny get some reps with the one. So let me ask, how long do you think Mitch Trubisky stays on the field? I have some theories here, but I'm interested to see what you're thinking.
I'm just gonna stick with the same as last week. I think it'll be pretty similar in terms of probably 2 series, maybe a third one, but I think 2's realistic. I'm interested to see because it may be they may want him to play an extra series or 2, depending on if Deontay is out there, because Mitch hasn't really practiced or played with him a ton. Obviously, Deontay didn't really play in the last game either. So maybe if Deontay plays, maybe they let him go an extra series. We'll see. Chase, same thing. So, but I think 2 to 3 series is probably the realistic thing.
So, would you think I was crazy if I said I think that they're only going to play Mitch 1 series? I think he's going to get 1 series, and then I think they're going to put Kenny in there just to make sure that he gets reps with the ones, because I think that's what Tomlin wants to see, is Kenny with guys like Deontay behind that offensive line, with guys like Jalen Warren, to see, just to kind of get a taste of what the rookie has. I don't think it's a tryout or anything. I just think it's let's see what he does, because Mitch is going to get the whole season to show himself with the starters.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, if that happened, I mean, I certainly wouldn't have any qualms with that. No, I could see kind of both sides of the coin, wanting to get Kenny a little more varsity action with the first team group, not just our offense but their defense, and then I could see a scenario where they want to get, Mitch a little bit more run with some of the guys that have been out with injuries like Chase or, contract related stuff like Deontay. So.
Do you think that next week's going to be the dress rehearsal game? Like where all the starters play good?
I mean, I know it used to be the third week was kind of when you saw a lot of starters, but I mean, now that there's no fourth week of preseason, I don't know if that'll be like a lot of people resting their starters. I'm not really sure how Pittsburgh will approach that. I would imagine that when it comes to like the stars, I don't know that we'll see them next week. I think it's more likely we see some of the stars on the team this week than next week. That's just how I think it will play out. I obviously don't know the answer to that, but that's my guess.
I've been trying to figure that out for a whole week now. I've been asking everybody at training camp what they were thinking. It's like a weird situation because you want to get Mitch reps, right? You want Mitch to get a full, let's test out this offense. Let's see what you're really good at. Let's see what you're not really good at against guys other than your own defense. See what happens. Maybe even let him get hit a little bit. But 2 weeks before the season, I mean, I guess that's what it would normally be. But the Steelers have never been in a situation like Ben Roethlisberger's never really played a dress rehearsal preseason game. He's played in the preseason, but he's never played what Mitchell Trubisky should probably play in at least one game in the preseason. So do you risk tossing those guys out there 2 weeks before the season, or do you just say, or is it more important to make sure that the offensive line, Mitch Trubisky, Deontay, Chase, those guys, Pat Freiermuth, Najee maybe actually get some reps together?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. I don't think Najee should see the preseason at all. I mean, there's no reason to put additional wear and tear on his body. I would say the offensive line is definitely something that I think needs probably to play all 3 games just because they really struggled last week in pass pro, and that's definitely something to where you need you need reps. So that's definitely as far as the quarterbacks, I think that's a feel thing for Tomlin, how good of a feel he thinks all the quarterbacks have with the offense. I think that there hasn't been a ton of like miscommunications, at least that I saw at training camp or what you guys have seen. No. And then, in the preseason last week, they looked really sharp. So I think that's the other thing. As long as they look kind of sharp, I don't know that they'll need to play as many guys next week. But I see the benefits and I see the pros and cons, I guess, to both sides of the kind of coin there.
All right. So sticking with the offense, I'm looking at this as a Jalen Warren tryout game. In my head, it went from like when you were out in training camp, we were talking about, okay, Jalen Warren looks good, but Anthony McFarland has a place in this offense, and Benny Snell you're not going to get rid of. You left. The preseason game happened. Benny Snell got hurt, and all of a sudden it became Jalen's got a real possibility. My cat's trying to get into this podcast right now. And Jalen Warren became a real possibility to make this team. Like it felt like, okay, there's some real traction. Then he started taking team 1 reps over Anthony McFarland, and you thought, okay, this is actually gonna happen. I don't think it's a lock yet, but I think it's a very likely possibility. What does Jalen Warren have to do in your eyes to be like, okay, yep, we're done. This is him. This is the Jalen Warren show behind Najee Harris.
Hang on to the football.
He's been carrying that thing around all week.
Yeah,
a ball filled with water that says Jalen's baby.
Because he had a fumble while I was there at camp, and he had a drop pass the same practice. That was the first day I was there. It was a little rough. And then, he fumbled in the preseason. That is something as a young runner, especially if you're not the starter, like running back coaches can't stand that, man. I think there's 2 things. Holding on to the football is 1, and then pass pro is 2. I thought he was really good in pass pro. I highlighted one of his reps in my film room this week. He had an excellent blitz pickup where a linebacker kind of was trying to do like a delayed blitz, turned his head, kind of came through the B gap. Warren came straight up and stunned him, man. Like he was aggressive at the point of attack. He knew his assignments. I liked that, but you got to hang on to the football, man. Like that is one thing that, like, I mean, if he fumbles, all that other stuff does not matter. So But I was really impressed with how he played. I thought that catch, I thought social media really underrated that catch he had on that touchdown from Kenny, because that ball was high. And
All right, well, that ball was high. This is, I want to say, 2 of the last 4 that Derek's had connection issues, so we're going to blame him for that, but it's actually my Wi-Fi. Anyways, Jalen Warren is a guy. I'm looking forward to Jalen Warren. I think what stood out about Jalen Warren, and I'm going to have to repeat all of this when Derek comes back, but I think what stood out about Jalen Warren this week is the fact that after the game, Mike Tomlin talked solely about his fumble. It was, Jalen fumbled the football, which stands out because that means that you actually have high expectations for an undrafted free agent. And then to come in and say, okay, well, you have to hold on to the football, so you have to carry this football around with you for the next week, or you're getting fined, because Eddie Faulkner said that he's getting fined if he sees him without the football. The dude carried it everywhere. He ate lunch with it. He probably showered with it. He moved around pretty much everywhere with this football. To me, that says we see upside in this. We see an actual potential, a potential enough to give him a real shot. I don't think we've seen a real shot to replace the running backs in Pittsburgh yet. You saw Kalen Ballage beat out Jalen Samuels, but I think that was more of a Jalen Samuels thing than it was a Kalen Ballage thing. Kalen Ballage looked better, I get that, but Jalen Samuels looked really, really bad, and that's why Jalen Samuels never made the team. This year, there was no reason for Jalen Warren to make this team. Anthony McFarland had a bigger role in the offense, and the Steelers felt really good about that, and they should have felt really good about that. He's versatile, and he fits in what Matt Canada is looking to do. At the same hand, Benny Snell has a place. He's a proven veteran. They love his special teams play. They love his pass pickup. There's not really a reason to replace Benny Snell Jr., and he's a veteran in a rather young group. Jalen Warren coming in here and saying, okay, well, he fumbled. That should have been the final straw, but he did enough before that to justify them calling the fumble out, but trying to teach him around it. You look back, Matthew Sexton was the guy last year, right? Rico Bussey was the guy last year. I don't think Rico would have made the team if he still didn't get hurt, but I definitely don't think that Matthew Sexton wasn't going to make the team. I think he was there, and he's back.
Bro, I don't know what's going on with my connection. My Spectrum is absolutely terrible by my house right now. We've complained, and it doesn't get any better. What was the last thing y'all heard me say about Jalen
Warren? You were talking about his pass protection, and I just went on a whole rant. So you pick up.
Oh, yeah. No, so I thought he was good in pass pro, and then I also thought like social media really underrated. Thanks, man. Sorry about the delay. But no, I thought social media really underrated that catch on that touchdown as well. Just because, not that I thought it was a terrible ball by Kenny, but the ball was high, and for a running back, catching the ball away from your frame isn't always like a guaranteed thing, especially like in the end zone like that. So I thought it was
falling back with contact.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really good catch, man. So I'm super excited about Jalen. Just like I said, man, the one thing he's got to do, he's just got to hang on to the ball. Everything else, I think he's checked all those other boxes already. Just hanging on to the football. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yep. And so this is what I just told everybody in the chat, and I'll tell you again. My thing with Jalen Samuels is the fact that he did fumble the football. And you look in any Steelers team, any summer, that fumble should have been the end of it, right? Matthew Sexton fumbles the punt. That's the end of it. Rico Bussey misses a game. That's the end of it. Jalen Samuels doesn't do anything. That's the end of it. Anthony McFarland doesn't do anything. That's the end of it. The fact that he fumbled that football, but did enough beforehand for them to say, all right, we're just going to try to fix the problem, and then at the same time give you more reps, says they actually see something in them, which is crazy, because I think at this point, his best chance to make this team, and the most realistic chance, is for Benny Snell to not make the team or Derek Watt to not make the team. And there's zero reason for them to not make the team, you know? So he really started at ground zero and worked his way into a big role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's flashed, like not just in camp, but he did it last week in the game. He deserves this opportunity, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. And like you mentioned, McFarland too. We both have kind of talked him up on here as well, as it pertains to just training camp. And then he went out and he put that was a really good showing as well for him. I thought that I guess it was a toss play to him to the left side of the field that he kind of broke early in the game for like 15, 20 yards, something like that. I thought that was a great display of patience. I thought McFarland was both patient and decisive as a runner, depending on what the run called for. And that's just something that really he hasn't shown up to this point. So it's nice to, finally see that.
Okay, so it's a different offseason, right? Like last year, there was not this hype. There was hype, but it kind of felt fake. It was like the offensive line hype.
Oh God.
Are we building ourselves up for disappointment walking into the regular season and Najee Harris still touching the football 300 times?
Oh yeah, Najee's still going to be the workhorse. 100%.
But like, there's not going to be any role. Like we're talking all this running back talk just for Jalen Warren to sit on the bench for 18 games.
Same thing we said all offseason, man. Until I see a Mike Tomlin coach team go running back by committee or not 85% RB1 snaps, I refuse to believe it's going to happen. Well, this is a good question. It's a good segue.
I agree. Right? I didn't think. Oh, that's a great segue. Yeah, I was going to.
We were literally about to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, this was actually next on the agenda. All right, I'll let you start that one off. Who's your head-to-head matchup you're most excited about? Let's start at the top. Most excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I have one in particular, but they both kind of go hand in hand. So I think the matchup I'm most excited about is Dan Moore against Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall pick, and then Chuks Okorafor against Josh Allen. Trayvon Walker's had a pretty impressive preseason, in my opinion. I watched all of his reps yesterday. Still obviously really raw as a pass rusher, but you can see the tools that he has. Real explosive player, strong. I mean, that dude's got like some violent hands. What's kind of interesting is Dan Moore, he struggled a little bit last week. Most of Dan Moore's struggles have been against rushers rushing from like a wide 9 technique. Walker really didn't get the chance to do a ton of that at Georgia. He has done it a little more already this preseason. So I'm interested to see how he counters with that. And then Josh Allen, it's a good matchup with Chuks because Allen is he's kind of got really good speed, really quick off the ball. And Chuks kind of has some of the same, strengths to his game, really quick off the ball, good feet, good mover laterally. So that's gonna be probably what I'm gonna watch most of in like the first series or two, just to see how both of those guys hold up against two really talented pass rushers that aren't necessarily stars, but have a lot of tools to work with.
Yeah, I thought Dan Moore kind of disappointed me in the first preseason game. I'd like to see him bounce back. I think he's capable of bouncing back. Maybe just going up against Derek Tushka for the last 2 weeks, lowered his bar a little bit. Chuks versus Josh Allen, I'm very excited about. That is a great matchup to watch because Chuks has been going against TJ Watt every single day for 28 days straight. They're iron sharpens iron. That's, getting the beat out of you every single day. Can you hold up against something that's a little bit below that? That's because if he can, that's huge.
Hey, and Chuks showed some physicality too, man. He had a nice little pancake in pass pro last week on the touchdown pass from Trubisky to Gunner. So I was happy with that, man. You don't see that a lot with Chuks because he's very much a finesse type of blocker. But yeah, I agree with you. It's gonna be a fun matchup to watch for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Mine, I've one that I'm really looking forward to, and it's Miles Jack versus Travis Etienne. I need to see. I think it's time to give up on Devin Bush. Like I just do. I think it's that time. I think he's going to start. Don't get me wrong. And him and Robert Spillane are going to play, and they're going to need to play fine. But my hopes of Devin Bush turning into even starter quality good are very, very low from what just from the attitude. I think it's downhill from here just because of the attitude. Miles Jack needs to secure that I could probably just do it all good enough and we can move on. Travis Etienne's pretty much a wide receiver. Urban Meyer tried to make him a wide receiver. Covering him out of the backfield will be very interesting to watch. I'm not positive who Jacksonville's tight end is, but that would be another one. I just need to see Miles Jack play pass coverage well. That's the biggest thing on defense, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need him to. But Jack certainly has a skill set to do that. He's had a really good camp. He had a really good first couple series last week. It's a really good start for him in terms of like having like a bounce back season as well. I really loved, he had back-to-back run plays last week that were really good in that second series, one of which he made a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. So I really, I'm excited about him as well. And, there's always that, little bit of extra juice probably for him this week going against his former team. So,
yeah, I talked to him yesterday and he said he was like, I'm definitely very excited to be back. He also, he might've he was about to let it slip, but he was talking about, somebody asked if he's heard, what the environment change has been like since Meyer has left. And he started to go a little bit. And then he realized he's like, I probably shouldn't go, and pulled it back. And you knew for a hot minute. He started off, he was like, oh, it's totally different from when Meyer was there, and had a big smile, and then went to say something else and was like, yeah. So I think it's an exciting game for him, especially to be back in Jacksonville. I'm very excited. I think the best part about this, at least in my perspective, in a very selfish way, I'm done asking Tyson Alualu about his return to Jacksonville, because I've done it every year for the last 4 years because I've been told to do it. And every year I'm like, it's been 5 years, man. I don't think he cares. At this point. He probably doesn't even remember what it's like down there. So this is a new one. I'm very excited for that. I think that's a good one. They've been scouting, like the orange cap at practice for the wide receiver was Zay Jones this week. I was very surprised by that. I don't know. I was thinking Christian Kirk, maybe. What's his name? Would have been my first choice there. I can never remember his name. He was a star last year. He's got a very unique name. But Zay Jones was the guy. Something to watch for, something not to watch for? What do you know about Zay Jones?
I mean, I know, like I said, I follow a couple good Jags follows. I know Zay's had a pretty good camp. He catch a touchdown already in the preseason? Can't remember.
I haven't slept, ate, or drank anything but Steelers training camp for the last 28 days. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, mainly just to get the guys used to game planning. There's not nearly as much game planning that's going into preseason games as regular season games. So getting, used to having that, focal point of the offense, like who you're keying in on, different things like that. I think it's a good experience, especially for the young guys who really haven't been through this before, like your rookies and stuff like that.
Yep, I agree. I think it is good experience there. I was very surprised by that. They ran a lot of scout this week. It was like a normal dress rehearsal week, which I thought was good for the defense. Look, I see Leal's name in here, but not for what it should be. To inside linebacker, that's a no. But I think I am excited for DeMarvin Leal. He had a very good week at practice. I thought he played fine in the first preseason game. You think he takes another step forward this week? Because I doubt Ogunjobi plays. Cam Hayward's not going to play. I would be very surprised if Isaiah Loudermilk plays a ton because of his rib injury. I think it could be a very Leal, Chris Wormley heavy game in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, they put Leal in there. I think his first or second pass rush rep, he ended up hitting the quarterback. I mean, the dude got in there, a little cross chop rip on the right guard, and ended up, he was a quarter of a second away from getting his first sack. So I'm just going to be honest, man. I just don't know how they're going to keep that dude off the field. I really don't.
I know.
Just from a pass rushing perspective, he's a better pass rusher than Wormley already. He's a better pass rusher than Loudermilk already. I think he's a better pass rusher than Alualu. Ogunjobi and Hayward are obviously going to be the two dogs probably in the nickel, the two down linemen. But I just think he's going to be able to get reps at some point sooner than later in the regular season just because of how good of a pass rusher he already is. He already has, a wide array of moves to use. So I'm definitely looking forward to a step from him. One person who I thought really struggled that got hardly any attention on social media. I thought Wormley had a really, really tough time last week. He was getting blown off the ball. And that was something that he kind of struggled with last year too, in terms of like stopping the run. Man, he was getting moved back like 2-3 yards on some of these run plays. So that's definitely something to watch for, because I think we all just kind of keep thinking, this run defense is going to magically like turn itself over. Like, we got to start to see some. I mean, I know we haven't seen Hayward, and we're hoping to see like Alu at some point, but it's got to start.
Alu will not play a preseason game.
It's got to start somewhere, man. Like, you can't just turn it on week one. Even I know it's just backups, but like Wormley's gonna play. Leal's gonna play. Loudermilk's gonna play. So like those guys, you want to see some progression there in terms of stopping the run. Loudermilk's already a good run defender individually, but.
Yeah, Loudermilk is a good run defender, but you're right. It felt like when Henry Mondu was in, you got that vibe. Okay, wow. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. I don't know.
I get
He's a nice
why
guy.
They were trying to play him at zero tech because Alu
Monty Adams
out, and then Monty Adams was out. But man, that poor dude, man, he was just getting every time they ran duo and like he was facing doubles, he was just literally getting pile drive back into the linebacker's laps.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't fair. And it's not going to be, they're going to do the exact same thing and it's going to look the exact same. But at some point, I agree with you. I mean, I think come the regular season, we're going to see a lot more Leal than Chris Wormley, especially as things get rolling, because, but they're not going to make that change in the preseason. They're not to a veteran. If they do that at quarterback, a position that they really need to, Leal doesn't need to play over Chris Wormley in the preseason for him to play as the backup in the regular season. You know what I mean? Like, taking team 2 reps doesn't really mean much to that guy. I will say another name I'm very interested in seeing in this game, and if he doesn't play, I'm going to be real discouraged, is Gennard Avery. I need to see something from this guy. Something at all. Like, we don't even have snaps. Did he play at all when you were at training camp? I don't believe he did.
The first day, a little bit. He made 2 plays,
a little bit,
I think, in run session.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, I would like to see, Jacksonville's got some tackle stuff that they're trying to figure out, but they've got Cam Robinson, They got Jawan Taylor, Spencer Little, I think, as well, kind of competing for that right tackle job. So I would like to, give them a challenge and have some good tape to go over. But the backup edge situation for the Steelers right now, it's brutal. I mean, Delonte Scott, brutal. Tuzar Skipper, brutal last week. I mean,
brutal.
So you're really looking.
They bring it.
That's a position we're just looking for the signs of life. I mean, any signs of life behind Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, please.
Yes, dude. Let me tell you, I was walking off the field. I keep saying I'm going to be nicer, and I'm not ever nicer. I was walking off the field at camp the other day, and Rondell Carter was walking, like, coming at me. And that dude, like, you think he's just like, it's like, oh man, that's a thick boy. Like, the guy just looks like he hasn't worked out in 8 months. And I'm like, how did you, like, how did Tuzar Skipper, who probably is going to miss 3 weeks with an injury settlement, get snipped for this guy? It's bad, dude. I will say that I've been discouraged with a lot of rumors flying around, or a lot of like stories that have come out of like players that they'll sign, blah, blah, blah. I am fairly positive, and everybody I've talked to source-wise is fairly positive, that they will make a splash at outside linebacker once somebody gets cut. They're just waiting for somebody to get cut, because like Mike Tomlin, I know for a fact Mike Tomlin is not pleased with Derek Tushka. I don't know how anybody's pleased with Gennard Avery. He hasn't done anything, and he's not that good of a vet to make this team no matter what. So I've heard that it's, it should be a good feeling. It's just now a matter of who they could possibly get, because I don't even know who would be on the radar. Like, I don't know who would be out there to be like, oh, well, he might get snipped with the final cut down, or even to 85 or 80. You never know. So I would expect something, but even then, you're jumping on a moving train, like Mike Tomlin says. That's a lot to jump in there and be a third linebacker in Pittsburgh who plays a significant amount of snaps. It's not ideal. It's definitely not ideal.
I mean,
A lot of
maybe
Devin Bush
we're
cut.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe we're talking like I mean, the biggest name probably out there in terms of just like recognition wise is probably D Ford. But I mean, he literally has not been healthy. I mean, when he's been on the field, he's been
Yeah.
good. When he has not been on the field, so
No.
what do you do? I mean, again, we've talked about this all season, but that's why it was so perplexing to me that they didn't dip their toes into that edge class, because it was such a deep edge class, and you could have probably got a day 3 guy that could at least come in and contribute or try to contribute early on.
Yeah.
And for them not to do it, I thought was really interesting. It showed a lot of faith in a guy like Avery, who really is kind of a little bit of a tweener. He's played inside, he's played outside. But
he told me that at least a good sign there is he told me that he's a natural outside guy.
And it shows.
The Eagles forced him inside. Yeah. So that's at least something positive. But I still think even if Avery works out in this last 2 preseason games, you need somebody else, because he hasn't been healthy at all. He wasn't healthy coming into the offseason. And you never know. You just never know. You can't have 4 guys out there, because then you're stuck with Taco Charlton and Derek Tushka or Jameer Jones starting at outside linebacker against the Packers. And you're just might as well just stop playing football at that point. So it could get bad. Besides that, did you want to talk about the corner? Did you tell me about the corners before, or the wide receivers before the podcast? Weren't you talking about a position? My brain's all mush today, dude.
I was mainly just talking about the edge rusher, which we covered that a little bit. I will drop a little draft nugget for anybody that wants to get a head start on watching some draft guys. I got 2 draft names if you guys are interested in. Cam Hart, corner from Notre Dame. He's an interesting player. And then DJ Turner, corner from Michigan. That's another guy I look up. For any little draft whizzes in the chat, y'all go look those up. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Both good players, though.
Yeah, I'm about it. All right, I think we've covered a lot. You got anything else you're looking for tomorrow night, or you feeling good?
Any type of pulse from Devin Bush would be a good sign. Just a pulse.
What if Robert Bush? Robert Bush. What does Robert Spillane have to do to impress somebody? I feel like no matter how well this guy plays, people are just like, yeah, he's still not good. And I agree with them, but I would like to know what the bar is. Where's that line?
Here's the deal. I was looking, I tweeted this out the other day. I was looking this up because it got me thinking. Somebody was talking about Devin White on my timeline. Bush played 14 games last season. He had 2 tackles for loss, 700 and something snaps. In the 5 games prior to him getting hurt and tearing his ACL, he had 0 tackles for loss. We are now in a 19-game stretch of football where he has had 2 tackles in the backfield. When Terrell Austin gets asked about him and he starts saying that, like, being gap sound and, not making too many MEs and mental errors, things like that is good for your inside linebacker group, but you still got to make plays. Like, and we're past he's a 10th overall pick. He's got to make plays for a 10th overall pick. We are past that. Like, any of you guys that are holding on hope, I commend the optimism. I'm past that, man. Like, I'm talking about being like starter quality, baseline, average, starting inside linebacker in this league. You still got to make plays, man. And part of that's getting into the backfield, playing faster. And we just haven't seen it, man. We didn't see it last week. He was brutal last week. So we'll see. Problem is, though, Spillane's just so limited, in my opinion, as an athlete. I mean, like, even getting to the flats, like, real slow getting out there, like, not a really big-time athlete. So it's going to be tough regardless. I mean, I think Miles Jack is going to have to really carry the load for, the inside linebacker group. We'll see what he's able to do. It's going to be a lot of pressure on him for sure.
So Devin Bush, I said before, I think Devin Bush is just a ship sinking at this point. Terrell Edmunds, do you think that there's any shot that throughout the season you hit a breaking point if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers? And maybe I'm just stretching this way too far, but I have thought this, and that's all it's been is a thought, that you run 3 safeties and move Terrell Edmonds into the box and let DeMonte KZ and Minka, or even Minka into the box at times, and let one of those guys play up more.
The problem with that, I know that's been like, I mean, that really hasn't been like an uncommon question that I've gotten on Twitter or that people have asked me. The problem is that like TE is like 215, 220, and being that light in the box is tough. Now he does a really good job of it, but you have to look. Terrell's a good run defender, and he can do some different things in terms of playing in the box. Like he can cross the face of a tight end, like we saw last week. But in terms of just taking on blockers, when you're playing that inside linebacker position, there's going to be times where, you know, guards are going to be climbing to that second level. He's going to be giving up 100 pounds. I mean, that's not realistic for him.
It's not going to happen.
Now, could they go to some more dime stuff, maybe on second downs if they get like favorable down and distance? I'm not saying it won't happen. I just think when you have the worst run defense in franchise history like they did last year, the solution can't be to take the bigger bodies off of the field. Like maybe
I get that.
Maybe they play even less, you know, too high safety, like middle field open stuff, and they roll Terrell down into the box even more and just stack the boxes against all these teams, and just, you know, kind of leave their secondary a little bit more vulnerable. Maybe they do that. I don't know. They, like we talked about, though, they have to get it figured out. I mean, if it's not just going to flip overnight, they just need to get more like starter quality performances from guys like Devin Bush, Chris Wormley, guys like that against the run. And if they do, it'll get, you know, hopefully better.
I believe it will get better. It's just a solution to figure out that second inside linebacker position, because I think that's the only gaping hole at this point. And gaping. There's holes, but I think that's the only one that's concerning enough to say, all right, this defense might not be as good as we expect it to be because one piece is going to struggle that bad. And you've seen that in years past. I mean, even when the defense was really good in 2019, like that inside linebacker group struggled. And you saw that from time, like all the time. You know, Vince Williams couldn't keep up with guys. Robert Spillane came in, did what he could. Devin Bush was really like the big answer there. So you saw that. You need to fix that. I still think that's there. So I believe that's the only major unanswered question that they'll need to figure out outside of the outside linebacker, because that is the question.
But at least that's a depth thing. You know, I mean, you're not gonna be deep everywhere. They're really deep in terms of like the defensive line. They're not really deep at edge. But you know, inside linebacker, like you absolutely. I mean, they got to get that figured out, and that's the thing. Maybe, and this was actually something that's gonna be in an article that I'm writing in the morning. But maybe it's one of the young guys that steps up. Maybe it's a Mark Robinson. Maybe it's a Buddy Johnson. I don't know. I haven't seen enough from those guys to think that they can play a role in terms of like the starting defense. But that's what the preseason's for. If Devin goes out there and plays like he did last week, Spillane goes out there and plays like he did last week, what if one of the young guys step up? They have a really good game heading into the week 3 of the preseason. We'll be able to find some more out about them. But yeah, inside linebacker last week, aside from Miles Jack, was a train wreck. I mean, there is no other really way to describe it.
When you went back and watched the film, what did you see out of Buddy Johnson? So Mark Robinson looked like a mess in pass coverage. He looked like terrible. But Buddy Johnson, I caught a couple of times like spinning around, like he didn't know where he was supposed to be. And you know, he made a couple of really nice run stuffs. But there were definitely some times where I caught him lost in space out there on field.
Yeah. I didn't notice a ton of good or bad plays in terms of from Buddy Johnson. Robinson was a lot more high and low, a little bit of a struggle in pass coverage. I don't think that first rep, I've seen that floating around on my timeline when Seattle was running that little mesh concept and he ended up getting caught in the rub. I don't really think that was as much on him.
Yeah, that wouldn't be his fault.
You do see some of his athletic limitations in terms of speed there.
Robinson?
Was another rep. Yeah, there was another. Yeah, from Robinson. There was another rep, though, where DJ Dallas just got him on an option route and just cooked him. I mean, that's, you know, not ideal. But, you know, I don't. But I do think I did see, I highlighted it in my film room, I did see Mark Robinson take on a blocker at the point of attack and maintain gap integrity and make a stop at the line of scrimmage. So that was one more thing that I saw what I saw from Devin. So you got to at least give him credit for that. I know that Robinson's not afraid to put his face in the fan and play physical football at the line of scrimmage.
I agree. I think Mark Robinson's got some upside, more upside than I expected coming into training camp. Buddy Johnson, I was hoping for a big year. I would like to see it more, but he did. I saw him a couple of times looking a little lost in space, but also a couple of times coming up to make some really, really nice plays. Good move there. Appreciate you.
Man,
Appreciate
what
you.
in the world?
People, man. It's just people. All righty. I think we're heading out of here. We've talked pretty much everything. I think we got a good grasp on game 2. I'm feeling really good about it. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are set for an exciting. This might be the most exciting preseason we've ever seen in our lives, which is mind blowing. But let me ask this, because I haven't talked to you since that game before we head out here. So watching from the press box, that was the slowest game-winning touchdown of all time. I watched that and it felt like, I mean, I'm sure in the stadium was like, oh my God, that's nuts. But I was just like, oh my God, there's 4 seconds left on the clock. Wow, I would have never guessed. Was it like that from your couch, or were you like ready to freak out?
I mean, it was a very long play. I'll say that. Like, I didn't know if Tyler was going to get there, but I mean, shout out to him though. I mean, I know obviously a great feel good story for Kenny, throwing a game winning touchdown pass in his first ever game as a pro, hometown team, all that stuff. But I also want to shout out Tyler Vaughns. That's an awesome moment for him. A lot of these guys that you're seeing in the preseason, man, they don't make it long careers out of this business. So Tyler will always have that memory of scoring a game-winning touchdown in a Steelers uniform, and that's pretty cool for him. I'm actually really familiar with Tyler because I've watched a couple USC receiver clinics, and he was the guy that was always in the front of the lines, and the coaches were always bragging on him in terms of being the example and doing things right technique wise to set the tone for the younger receivers in the room. So I have a lot of respect for Tyler Vaughns.
Yeah, Tyler's he's a very nice guy. He's made a lot of plays in training camp. I think he's had a very good training camp. I think he's a practice squad guy.
I hope he sticks somewhere. It's obviously not going to be here, but I hope he sticks somewhere.
Yeah. If he ends up, I think that he's put enough on tape for somebody to possibly pick him up. And if not, I think he's a definite shot. He's a definite addition to the Steelers practice squad, which, I mean, he was there last year, and that's still another year in the NFL, even if you're not on an active roster. It's not like those guys don't make scraps. So good for him. I do like that. Like I said, Tyler Vaughns is a good dude. But yeah, I think it's I'm hoping game 2 is just as exciting, but has a little bit, maybe I'll just feel it watching from home this time, that it's just a little bit more exciting, because I was like, man, I should have had some chills or something. And I was just like, oh, he's going to get tackled. Oh no, it's touched. What? It's over. I had no idea. It was weird. It was a weird feeling, but all righty, we're heading out of here. We appreciate you guys for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk, and check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. As always, be a friend to tell a friend to go use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Enjoy the game. We'll be back next week. Peace.